My husband took 45 minutes in bed, and the shocking truth behind it changed everything. Don't go anywhere before I finish this story, because what I discovered will leave you speechless. Before I continue with my story, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. This is a story that completely transformed my understanding of relationships, intimacy, and the hidden struggles that can destroy a marriage from the inside out. What started as a confusing bedroom issue became a journey of discovery that saved not just my marriage, but my husband's life. When I first met my husband, I noticed something different about him in our intimate moments. He was never quick, never rushed. While other guys I had been with before were always fast, sometimes embarrassingly so, my husband was different. He would take his time, sometimes 20 to 25 minutes, and honestly, at first, I thought it was wonderful. I felt lucky to have found someone who wasn't selfish, someone who seemed to care about making our intimate moments last. We were young, we were in love, and everything seemed perfect. Those early days of our relationship were filled with passion and connection. I remember thinking how mature he was compared to other men, how considerate he seemed to be. Little did I know that what I was interpreting as consideration was actually the beginning of a pattern that would nearly destroy our relationship. We dated for 2 years, and during that time, I never questioned what was happening in our bedroom. If anything, I bragged to my friends about how lucky I was. When he proposed, I said yes without hesitation. We had what seemed like the perfect relationship, built on trust, love, and what I thought was incredible physical compatibility. But here's where the story takes a dark turn that nobody could have predicted. After we got married, things began to change gradually. Those 20-minute sessions started stretching to 30 minutes, then 35, then 40. At first, I didn't think much of it. Marriage changes things, right? Maybe we were both just getting more comfortable, taking our time to really enjoy each other. But as months passed, I started to feel something was wrong. The sessions that once brought us closer together were becoming marathons that left me feeling disconnected and confused. What used to feel intimate and special was beginning to feel mechanical and endless. I found myself lying there, wondering when it would end, feeling guilty for wanting it to be over. This wasn't how newlyweds were supposed to feel, was it? But the real shock came when those 45-minute sessions started ending without any resolution at all. My husband would simply stop, frustrated and exhausted, unable to reach completion. This wasn't occasional. This was becoming our new normal. Night after night, we would start what should have been an intimate moment between husband and wife, only to end up feeling more distant from each other than ever. I had never experienced anything like this before. I had heard of men who had the opposite problem, who finished too quickly, but a man who couldn't finish at all. This was completely foreign to me. I started questioning everything about myself, about us, about our marriage. The doubts began eating away at me like a poison. Was I not attractive enough anymore? Had I done something wrong? Was he no longer attracted to me? These thoughts consumed my days and haunted my nights. I would catch myself looking in the mirror, wondering what had changed, what I had lost that made our intimate moments feel so disconnected. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, where I couldn't talk to the one person who should have been my closest confidant. How do you tell your husband that you're concerned about your sex life without making him feel inadequate? How do you express your insecurities without hurting the person you love most? The isolation was overwhelming. I couldn't talk to my friends about this. It felt too personal, too embarrassing. I couldn't talk to my family. This wasn't the kind of thing you discuss over Sunday dinner. I was trapped in my own confusion, carrying this burden alone while pretending everything was perfect on the surface. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was at work one day. I work at a school, and during my lunch break, I was having coffee with our school psychologist. She's not just a colleague, she's become one of my closest friends over the years. Something about her calm, non-judgmental presence made me feel safe enough to open up about what I was going through. I didn't plan to tell her everything, but somehow the words just started pouring out. I told her about my confusion, my insecurities, my fears about what was happening in my marriage. I expected her to be as puzzled as I was, but instead, she got this knowing look in her eyes. What she told me next completely shattered my understanding of the situation. She said she had 2 clients in her private practice who were dealing with pornography and masturbation addiction, and that these addictions were severely impacting their ability to be intimate with their partners. The symptoms she described, the prolonged sessions, the inability to reach completion, the disconnect during intimate moments, sounded exactly like what I was experiencing at home. My mind was racing. Pornography addiction? My husband? This seemed impossible. When would he even have time to watch that stuff? I was always around, always available. We lived together, worked similar schedules, spent most of our free time together. How could he be hiding something like this from me? But as I thought about it more, pieces started falling into place. The times he would stay up late on his phone after I went to bed. The way he would quickly close his laptop when I walked into the room. The occasions when he seemed distant during our intimate moments, like his mind was somewhere else entirely. The psychologist explained that this kind of addiction often starts very young and can become so deeply ingrained that it affects every aspect of a person's intimate relationships. She emphasized that it wasn't necessarily about me or our relationship. These patterns often develop years before the person even meets their future spouse. I went home that day with my head spinning. Part of me didn't want to believe it could be true, but another part of me felt like I had finally found the missing piece of a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for months. I knew I couldn't just ask him directly. If he was hiding an addiction, he would probably deny it, and I would have no way of knowing whether he was telling the truth. Plus, I didn't want to accuse him of something so serious without any evidence. Our marriage was already strained enough without adding false accusations to the mix. So I decided to do something I never thought I would do, something that went against every principle of trust I believed in. I decided to check his phone. I waited for the right moment when he was in the shower, and I quickly grabbed his phone from the nightstand. My hands were shaking as I opened his internet browser and checked the history. What I found there changed everything I thought I knew about my husband and our marriage. Page after page of pornographic websites. Hours and hours of browsing history, going back months, maybe years. Different sites, different types of content, all accessed during times when I thought he was just casually browsing the internet or checking social media. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The betrayal, the confusion, the anger, it all hit me at once. But more than anything, I felt like I had been living with a stranger. How long had this been going on? How had I been so blind to what was happening right under my nose? When he came out of the shower, I was sitting on our bed with his phone in my hands. The look on his face told me everything I needed to know. The guilt, the shame, the panic. It was all there, written across his features like a confession. What happened next was the most difficult conversation of our marriage, but also the most important one. He was mortified, embarrassed beyond words. He kept apologizing, saying he never meant for it to affect our relationship, that he didn't think I would find out, that he knew it was wrong but couldn't stop. The shame in his voice was heartbreaking, but I needed to understand how we had gotten to this point. Through tears and stammered explanations, he told me a story that broke my heart. His father had introduced him to pornography when he was just a child. What should have been innocent childhood curiosity had been twisted into something unhealthy and compulsive by an adult who should have been protecting him instead. He explained that he had been viewing pornographic material since he was very young, and that masturbation had become a daily habit that he felt powerless to control. By the time we met, these behaviors were so deeply ingrained that he didn't even realize how they were affecting his ability to be intimate with a real person. The revelation explained everything: the prolonged sessions, the inability to finish, the emotional disconnect I had been feeling. His body and mind had become so accustomed to a particular type of stimulation that normal, healthy intimacy with his wife couldn't provide the same response. But here's what amazed me about my husband, and what ultimately saved our marriage. Instead of becoming defensive or denying that there was a problem, he immediately asked what he could do to fix it. He was devastated that his addiction had been hurting me and affecting our relationship. He wanted to get help, wanted to change, wanted to become the husband I deserved. I told him I wasn't angry with him. I was angry at the situation, angry at what had been done to him as a child, angry that we had both been suffering because of something that had started long before we even met. But I wasn't angry at him personally, because I could see that he was as much a victim of this addiction as I was. We decided together that he needed professional help. This wasn't something we could fix on our own with good intentions and willpower. Addiction, especially one that had been developing for decades, requires specialized treatment and ongoing support. Finding the right therapist took some time, but we eventually connected with someone who specialized in sexual addiction and had experience helping couples navigate these challenges together. The process wasn't easy. There were setbacks, difficult conversations, and moments when I wondered if we would make it through. But slowly, gradually, things began to improve. My husband committed fully to his recovery, attending therapy sessions, joining support groups, and making lifestyle changes that supported his healing. He installed accountability software on all his devices, changed his daily routines to avoid triggers, and developed healthy coping mechanisms for stress and temptation. The changes in our relationship were remarkable. As he began to break free from his addiction, our intimacy became more connected, more present, more emotionally satisfying than it had ever been. But more importantly, I got to see my husband become the man he had always wanted to be, freed from a burden he had been carrying for most of his life. It's been over a year now since he started treatment, and while recovery is an ongoing process, our marriage is stronger than ever. We communicate more openly, we're more emotionally connected, and we've both learned so much about forgiveness, healing, and the power of facing difficult truths together. I'm sharing this story because I know there are other women out there who might be experiencing something similar and feeling as confused and alone as I did. If your intimate relationship doesn't feel right, if something seems off but you can't put your finger on what it is, trust your instincts. It might not be about you at all. And for anyone struggling with addiction of any kind, please know that there is hope. Change is possible, healing is possible, and you don't have to carry that burden alone. The shame and secrecy that addiction thrives on can be overcome with honesty, professional help, and the support of people who love you. This story was shared with me by a follower from another social media platform, and I'm grateful they trusted me with something so personal and vulnerable. Their courage in sharing their experience might help other couples who are facing similar challenges. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Your engagement helps these important stories reach more people who might be helped by them. And please, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Remember, no matter what you're going through, you're not alone, and there is always hope for healing and positive change.